Hello there. So, when was the last time you stopped talking and actually listened? Well, this week's traveler, Alana, does just that. A literal fly on the wall. Except she gets paid for doing so. How? Let's find out. In a back room of a busy tavern sat two large bearded men sharing tales of their exploits, both true and exaggerated.
"'Twas bigger than a pine from the forest of Norfolk, Bassy was. Oh, my name ain't Tritos Jacob. I sat awake till dawn's first light, stoking the fire for fear of it returning. Those red eyes and god-awful smell I's never forget."
I got to keep your wits about you when traveling through the Ogrelands, So's the Midnight Monster paid ye a visit, did he? Terrible things I've heard, terrible.
Worst of all was me bodyguard, Bomar the Brave. Me arse he was. Runs away at first sign of trouble he did. Lost all my wares that night, nothing to show for it.
And so the conversation continued. All the while, and unbeknownst to these gentlemen, was an eavesdropping intruder hiding in plain sight. A tiny brown field mouse was hiding next to the leg, under the well-used wooden table of the gossiping occupants tucked against the wall. And while the men were jabbering away in between gulps of ale, the mouse was listening very intently. Why? Well, this was no ordinary field mouse. But we'll get to that in a minute. For now, the mouse had heard all she really needed to hear. So while hugging the filthy floor, she turned and began scurrying along the edge of the walls, making her way towards an exit. With most of the patrons inebriated or in deep talks themselves, none took notice as she dodged a few stale bits of dusty bread or moldy crumbs and slinked through the bottom crack of a heavy wooden doorway and out into the fresh, cool night air. Sticking closely to the shadows, the mouse took a quick glance around before twitching its little nose and poof! A spry young woman had taken its place. A druid, to be precise. One who goes by the name of Alana, and has a certain proclivity for shape-shifting. Be it a mouse, a raven, a stray hound, or even a little caterpillar, she prefers the unassuming. Stretching her tense limbs and scratching the side of her ear, she turned to look at the now muffled tavern, smirked, and began walking her way towards the front of the establishment, where a tall elven bard sat under a dim candlelit lantern, smoking a stout little pipe encircled by its ribbons of smoke. Quite handsome for an elf, thought Alana, as she approached the man, but tonight was strictly for business. A gravelly crunch underfoot announced her arrival, and the elf gave a short nod as Alana sat next to him. "So, what tale shall I be weaving tonight, fair lady?" Alana made no reply, save for extending her hand with palm face up. The bard rolled his eyes and clicked his tongue, but removed a small pouch of coins from within his tunic and handed them over. Now, with gold in hand, Alana relayed the story she overheard from the two old merchants earlier ago. The bard was gleeful to hear such juicy gossip about the town's savior, Bomar the Brave, and immediately began humming a little tune, no doubt composing the piece for tonight's entertainment. I wonder how Bomar will take it, thought Alana, but merely shrugged as she stood up and began walking into the night, leaving the elf to his process. With another night's work in hand, Alana thought she might turn in early for a change. Perhaps save a little of the coin that was currently burning a hole in her pocket, urging to be spent on any assortment of trinkets, odds and ends, pointless knickknacks, ale, when the sound of secretive whispers caught her well-trained ear. Time to earn a few more, thought Alana, and with a glint in her eye she transformed into a small firefly, buzzing off in the direction of the whispers. Down a dark, damp alley she came upon two short-hooded figures, one consistently wringing their hands while the other leaned against a wall, both speaking in low but excited voices.
I found it, I did, I swears. When I least expected to, poof, there she was. The Gathering Stone, with rose-colored hens and all.
Well, well, thought Alana. Finding the Gathering Stone and returning to tell the tale? Now that could fetch quite a pretty coin to the right bard. Maybe even one who plays for royalty. Clinging to the wall, she listened to the rest of the little one's story well into the night. It appeared as though she may not be able to find such a place with direct intent. However, if she began in the right direction, maybe meandering or even perhaps under the guise of a hapless animal, she could trick her way into such a discovery. And if the legends hold true, she could have an endless supply of magical tales to sell to the highest bidder whenever she so chooses. Having made up her mind, Alana left the two to their arguing, and buzzed her way to the edge of the town before taking on the form of a crow and setting course for the wild horizon. Now, I should tell you that, for whatever reason, the Gathering Stone allowed Alana to find our merry little camp. But unfortunately for her, the magic around here is a bit more complicated than she could have ever anticipated. I guess time will tell how she deals with it. But until then, that's it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed another Tale of the Lost. Be sure to come back next week for more stories, characters, and illustrations. Farewell for now.